Now, I have this clip that I want to play for you that I had posted over on Instagram, and it started a bit of debate. So go ahead and peep it out. Don't lose it just yet. Hear out the whole statement, and then we can go deep into me explaining why I said that. Now, I know you won't agree with me, but I feel there aren't any American-made shows that have consistent longevity, impact, quality of writing, and legacy like anime does. And if you're thinking of a show that has been rebooted over and over, then you already proved my point. Name one show that has been airing as long as Dragon Ball or One Piece, that has inspired the next generation like Yu Yu Hakusho, gave rise to non-stop merch and games like Pokemon, Naruto. What characters have breached the international borders and made a cultural impact outside of the US? Because I've seen Pikachu, Goku, and Luffy in American Parade. Now, this isn't to say that we don't have successful franchises over here in America. I think pound for pound, we have multiple characters that are considered cultural icons across the globe and are recognized by people that don't even consume the content. But the problem lies with the structure of American animation and the movies behind it. There are major differences between the layout of Western animation and anime that, to me, are two things: the creator/writer and the motive behind its creation. Now, most animes start off as mangas and are created, written, and penned by one person. And then once it's signed to like a Shonen Jump, then they get editors and everything else that comes with it, but it all is usually funneled through one person's vision. Now, you can see this when you look at people like Akira Toriyama or Oda, Kubo, and so on. Now, of course, there could be people helping them with the story or the development, but the parent of this baby is usually always involved, or people that are trusted to uphold the vision, with the motive simply being to push a well-written product, expressing your creativity, and to compete in the market, and of course be successful and turn a profit. But let's look at how we do things here in the West. Many of the cartoons we have that have lasted any number of decades are usually to push toys and merch. There have been many shows loved by fans that were canceled because it wasn't pushing enough product. So out the gate, this cripples our chances of having something that stand the test of time when it isn't being judged on its performance, but simply on how many sales it brings. Then you also have to take into account that American-made cartoons and comics have a buffet line of writers that change the core of the show or character, or simply want to reimagine it or adapt it to the current time that it's in. America has mastered the art of needlessly rebooting something that the most of us wouldn't feel there's anything wrong with it, with examples like Teen Titans, Scooby-Doo, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, and so many more. And it's because of this dynamic, I don't think there could be a fair big three from America when we really don't have characters or shows that have remained who they are the whole time without being rebooted. So here are the traits of the big three. They obviously have the popularity and sales figures, and it's been like this for decades. But look at the impact of the big three. Top tier games, merch, movies that have made a cultural impact across the ocean, inspired the newest generation of anime, and without a doubt become a huge part of American culture. Now, who do we have that can go band for band with all of that? Now, I know most of you are thinking of answers already, and I'm pretty sure most of you will type something that was rebooted, or you'll say, Pokemon was rebooted though. Yeah, after decades of being out, and it got a show without Ash in it that's supposedly just a different character, but the same universe, same timeline. Oh, well, but wait, Dragon Ball GT was a reboot. No, it wasn't. It was literally after the events of Dragon Ball Z. And Super is supposed to fit in there somewhere in between, but I'll admit it doesn't make clear sense. And even that's after decades of it being out. And we're not going to consider bad writing a reboot. That's just poor writing. But it doesn't take away from the impact that it had already happened way before GT came out. But I'm not making this video to rag on our camp and how we can't hack it. I do think the only characters / franchises that could even somewhat hold a candle to the big three would be Mickey Mouse. Now, Mickey meets the longevity part since he's been around since 1928. and most definitely cranked out more than a few games, and no one questioned the impact that he has had on the world when he literally is balling with homes in multiple countries. Though I would give him the same status as the Goku prior to the big three. Other than him, though, I would say Sesame Street. Now, the funny thing with Sesame Street is actually owned by the House of Mouse, but it's also been a consistent giant. It was created in 1969 and is still going strong. Its impact is beyond undeniable since it has shaped the learning habits of thousands of kids in the States and even outside the country. Small side fact, the character Big Bird is a different type of Big Bird for every region that the show is aired in. They do have games, but let's just say, they're not for our age group. They're not intended for us, unless if you're still working on getting your GED. Now, The Simpsons were created in 1987, so with an ongoing, consistent story, so much so that they never age, and it's one of the longest airing animated shows, period. Now, they got a movie under its belt and over 29 games, but arguably none of those games are great hits, maybe cult classics, but none of them are putting out numbers comparable to anything else. Now, I won't straight out say they don't have an impact outside of the U.S., but they definitely have touched Jamaica to the point that they made black variants. And if you're an 80s or 90s baby, you have definitely seen a black Bart Simpson merch of some kind. Now, there is no doubt that we have influential characters that would be recognized across the globe, but the big three have themed restaurants, gyms, and more outside of their own country, where you can't find a bunch of our characters overseas with their own dedicated anything, really. But I welcome anyone to challenge this line of thinking or suggest another property that could possibly hold weight. Maybe I'll drop a video on who would be considered big three if we ignore the rules and the status of what made them originally. Who would you pick for the Western big three? And who would you pick as their Goku? Now, I will say for honorable mentions for shows that would come close to the criteria, but not really in all respects, would be South Park, even surprisingly Arthur, Family Guy, SpongeBob. Definitely SpongeBob, I would say the closest to being a real contender. Even Awkward Teen Hunger Force, you could argue Fairly Odd Parents, maybe Dora the Explorer, Bugs Bunny, or you could say Looney Tunes in general. Like, there's so many shows that have been on for a long time, but if you look, a lot of them have been rebooted or don't have no cultural impact really of the same caliber as the anime that we're talking about. I mean, even, yeah, a lot of y'all probably don't know this, but King of the Hill has like this weird cult following overseas, especially in places like Japan. So there are shows that are close to or comparable, but don't hold the same weight and do the same things as the big three. Like anybody that's came out afterwards, our shows still have it. I'm sorry to say this, we're just falling behind. But we do have stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender. We can brag about that.